بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. So going into a new heading here, it is still the introduction. Uh, it is أقسام علم الصرف وترتيبه, meaning the categories of the science or knowledge of صرف, meaning morphology. وترتيبه. So just a quick parenthesis on the word sarf, which we haven't mentioned before. What is the meaning of sarf? It is to change something. So obviously when the word changes and morphs, it is changeable. It is something that is متصرف. So it is actually this word is appearing in usul ثلاثة when the author mentions a number of types of worship, and he says كلها لله تعالى. And then he says, it's not 100% literal quote, but he says فمن صرف منها شيئا لغير الله فهو مشرك كافر. فمن, so whoever, صرف, changes these types of worship, right? So meaning not changing them, but changing the let's say associated target of worship, whom you're worshiping these with. فمن صرف منها شيئا لغير الله تعالى فهو مشرك كافر. So whoever فمن صرف منها شيئا, whoever changes or redesignates, so to speak, anything of that to others other than Allah, لغير الله, فهو, then he is مشرك كافر, so a polytheist and a disbeliever. So the author goes الصرف خمسة أقسام. So الصرف يعني علم الصرف is 5 categories or types. And أقسام, the singular is قسم, so it can mean a type, category. It is something split, also faculty, because like a university is split into several faculties. It is something split. So these, I mean, the علم الصرف is split into 5 categories, and their order, by the way. Yeah. So the first one is الميزان الصرفي, and ميزان is the same word as we saw here. هذه لا توزن. They are not, put into the pattern of, فاعل, مفعول, these kinds of patterns that we see in Arabic. We'll go into them. But that is basically, yeah, that is al-mizan al-sarfi, the patterns of sarf, the morphological patterns, let's say. وهو من أهم أبواب الصرف, and that it is out of the most important أبواب الصرف. أبواب, meaning doors, but in literal contexts, it would mean chapters. Here it would probably mean like topics. لأنه, because it يطبق على كل الكلمات التي تقبل التصريف. Because it is applied on every or all words that are eligible to morphology or accepts morphology, تصريف, meaning the changing of the words, right? And then we have number 2, وأبنية الأسماء والأفعال المجردة والمزيدة. And أبنية is actually the types of patterns. So abniya is also you could say awzan, awzan. So that would also be a synonym. Awzan, plural of wazn, which is obviously related to mizan. So the different forms, basically, the word forms. So let's say you pluralize by adding s, in English, like book, books, school, schools. So this is a kind of pattern. So this would be one pattern, and the abniya, meaning structures, really, structures of the nouns and the verbs, al-mujarrada wal-mazida. And the author will go into all these like terms, this terminology. But al-mujarrada is, it would mean like bare words, meaning they are not like closed, they are bare, meaning they have no additional letters than their fundamental letters. Wal-mazida, these are words that have extra letters, so to speak, added to them. We'll go into that. وهذا القسم هو قاعدة الصرف التي يجب حفظها. And this category is the foundation of الصرف that must be memorized. And then we have تصريف الأفعال, how to conjugate the verbs. And it is the awzan as well. I mean, awzan, mizan, how to, basically all of these categories are about the same thing, how to change a word from something to something else, how to conjugate verbs. وفيه الأحكام الصرفية الخاصة بالفعل. And in that category, are the rules, the morphological rules that are special for the verb. And al-fi'l, meaning al-af'al. It has the same meaning. بالفعل. وتصريف الأسماء, same thing but for nouns. وفيه الأحكام الصرفية الخاصة بالاسم. والتصريف المشترك. And the common morphology, let's say, or conjugating, or inflection. There are different words for this, but basically it is those kinds of rules that apply to both nouns and verbs. وفيه الأحكام الصرفية, and in this type we have the morphological rules that are common between the verb and the noun. And of that, منها, min meaning بعض, it's تبعيض. Bab meaning the chapter, or the subject of. Al-ibdal wal-i'lal. Ibdal meaning when you switch out a letter for another. And i'lal is when you switch out a vowel for another. No, it is actually more like, how does a vowel, behave when it is conjugated when a word is conjugated. Let's say, sometimes the letter disappears, sometimes it's switched out, sometimes. الذي هو خلاصة علم الصرف, and that is الإبدال والإعلال. والله أعلم, is what is the summary, or in a nutshell, it is علم الصرف. ولا يكون أحد صرفيا, and one cannot be considered, and one cannot become a morphologist صرفي حتى until he perfects them. يتقن, from إتقان. وسوف أذكر هذه الأقسام, and I will mention these categories قسما قسما, category for category, or category by category, إن شاء الله تعالى. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.